Good morning, respected dignitaries and my dear colleagues. It is my privilege to welcome you all to Dr. S.K. Jain Memorial Lecture, jointly organized by CSIR-NBRI and Society of Ethnobotanists, SEB, being held here at CSIR National Botanical Research Institute, Lucknow. On behalf of the organizing committee, I, Shweta Sharma, welcome you all. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite our distinguished guest, Dr. Arvind Saklani, Vice President, Agribiotech, Sami-Sabinsa Group, and Professor Ashok K. Jain, Professor, Department of Botany, and Director, Institute of Ethnobiology at Jiwaji University, Gwalior. Along with him, I invite Dr. Ajit Kumar Shashne, Director, CSIR-NBRI, and President of SEB, and Dr. Manjusha Srivastava, Senior Principal Scientist and Secretary, SEB. Please join me in welcoming our chief guests with a round of applause. Now, I would request our Director, Sir, to welcome our chief guest with the token of our appreciation. Now I request Dr. A.K. Goyal, Vice President, SEB, and ex-Chief Scientist on stage to present a bouquet of flowers to newly elected President of SEB and Director, CSIR-NBRI, Dr. Ajit Kumar Shashne. Please help me in congratulating Sir with a big round of applause on behalf of the entire society. Lighting the lamp signifies dispelling of darkness and the welcoming of knowledge, wisdom, and enlightenment. It is a gesture that not only honors our rich cultural heritage, but also symbolizes the illumination of minds in the field of scientific research. I would now like to invite our distinguished dignitaries to kindly come forward to light the lamp, and I also request Shivli to recite Sharda Vandana.
या कुन्देन्दु तुषार हार धवला या शुभ्र वस्त्रावृता या वीणा वरदण्ड मंडित करा या श्वेत पद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युत शंकर प्रभृतिभिः देवै सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निशेषजाड्यापहा.
Now I request our guests to please pay a floral tribute to Dr. S.K. Jain. To give us the welcome address, I would now invite Dr. Ajit Kumar Shashne sir on the podium. Sir.
A very good morning to everyone. पहले तो हम याद करेंगे एस.के. जैन साहब को, जो कि इथनोबोटनी का नींव रख के गए हुए हैं। आदरणीय चीफ गेस्ट डॉक्टर प्रोफेसर ए के जैन, डॉक्टर सकलानी, मेरे सामने बहुत सारे स्टॉलवर्ड्स बैठे हुए हैं जैसे डॉक्टर लावण्य, डॉक्टर चौधरी और मैनी अदर, डॉक्टर रावत, सब जिनको मैं पहचानता हूँ, ज़्यादातर जिनके कांटेक्ट में आता हूँ, डॉक्टर गोयल एंड मैनी ऑफ द स्टॉलवर्ड्स ऑफ बोटनी हियर। ये बहुत लॉन्ग ड्यू था क्योंकि इथनोबोटनी एक ब्रांच ऑफ बोटनी जिसको हम अलग नहीं कर सकते। शायद हम भूल गए थे कुछ दिन के लिए, लेकिन उसको हम आगे लेके जाना चाहिए। इसीलिए मेरे जो कलीग्स हैं और मुझे याद दिलाए और बाय भारतीय ऑफ डायरेक्टर NBRI मुझे प्रेसिडेंट बनवा दिए, जैसे कि ISBB में भी प्रेसिडेंट बनवा दिए, डॉक्टर लावण्य वहाँ बैठे हुए हैं। लेकिन जब प्रेसिडेंट गए थे, लेकिन इसी ब्रांच जो इथनोबोटनी मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट ब्रांच है, लेकिन सब लोग हम क्यों ना उसको नहीं देखते, अनदेखा करते हैं, मुझे पता नहीं है। लेकिन मुझे ये हुआ कि नहीं, हम उसको आगे लेके चलेंगे। इंडिया की एक इथनोबोटनी जो है उसी को लेके चलेंगे तो बहुत कुछ हम आगे कर सकते हैं। उसको लिंकेज है आयुर्वेद के साथ, उसको लिंकेज है बहुत सारे चीज़ों के साथ, इकोनॉमिक बोटनी, मैनी थिंग। मैंने उसको आज बताना नहीं चाहूँगा क्योंकि आप लोग सुनेंगे हमारे जो स्टॉलवर्ड्स हैं। सो इसीलिए मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा ये वाघ, विजय विष्णु वाघ, जो कि मेरे पास बार बार आता है, नहीं सर आपको इथनोबोटनी को आगे लेके चलना है। और अभी भी याद करेंगे हमारे जो भाई चांसलर थे वो भी आए थे, जिवाजी यूनिवर्सिटी का एक बार बात किए थे कि हम कैसे आगे लेके चल सकते हैं उसी सेंटर को। तो बाद में देखेंगे कैसे आगे लेके चल सकते हैं। लेकिन हम इथनोबोटनी यहाँ NBRI में थोड़ा सा इम्पोर्टेंस दें और कुछ रिक्रूटमेंट हो तो कुछ इथनोबोटनी में भी रिक्रूटमेंट करें और उसी को लेकर आगे चलें। टेक्सोनॉमी एंड इथनोबोटनी, दीज आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स फॉर द बोटनिकल इंस्टीट्यूट टू सर्वाइव। रेस्ट ऑफ द थिंग्स फॉलोज, ये मेरा मानना है। जो कि सारे ब्रांच इंपॉर्टेंट है, ये नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि कोई ब्रांच इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है, कोई ब्रांच इंपॉर्टेंट है, लेकिन सारे ब्रांच इंपॉर्टेंट होते हुए भी ये सारे चीज़ टेक्सोनॉमी और इथनोबोटनी मेन सेंटर अट्रैक्शन है, उसी को स्ट्रेंथन करें तो डेफिनेटली सारे ब्रांच भी उसको चारों तरफ, क्योंकि कुछ भी चीज़ हम करना चाहते हैं तो आइडेंटिफाई करना ज़रूरी है। आइडेंटिफाई करने के बाद साथ साथ उसका इकोनॉमिक इंपॉर्टेंस जानना ज़रूरी है। वो कैसे हमारे जो आयुर्वेदा वगैरह वो सारे चीज़ें इथनोबोटनी क्यों हुआ, मीन्स एथनिक जो नॉलेज है, ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज है, उसी को लिंक करते हैं हम। तो उसी को, ये मैं लेमैन के हिसाब से बोल रहा हूँ, ये नहीं कि मैं एक एक्सपर्ट हूँ इथनोबोटनी में, नहीं हूँ, कभी नहीं हूँ। तो आप लोग का सब मैं स्वागत करता हूँ इसी कैंपस में, जो कि दोनों ही जुड़े हुए हैं हमारे NBRI के साथ बहुत पहले से। और लेट हो गया लेकिन देर ही सही, अच्छा है, देर ही सही, ठीक है। और आपको हम प्रॉमिस करते हैं कि हम आगे लेके इसी ब्रांच को चलेंगे और जो बहुत कुछ उसमें से निकल सकता है। डॉक्टर रावत भी हैं, रावत साहब भी जानते हैं अच्छी तरह, क्योंकि कैसे हम इज द मेन पर्सन बिहाइंड BGR 34 और बहुत सारे चीज़ वो काम करके इधर से गए हुए हैं। तो उसी नॉलेज को कैसे हम यूटिलाइज करेंगे, उसी को लेकर आगे चलेंगे। आप लोग आज देख रहा हूँ पूरा फुल है, इसी से पता चलता है कि आप लोग का इंटरेस्ट कैसे है बोटनी के ऊपर। आप लोग भी खुश होंगे, यहाँ आए हैं, सुनेंगे 2 लेक्चर को। आप लोग का स्वागत है मेरे कलीग्स, स्टूडेंट्स। सो वी शुड नो फ्रॉम आवर नॉलेज एंड वी शुड कैरी फॉरवर्ड दिस नॉलेज टू द फ्यूचर जनरेशन। इतना ही बोलूँगा, आप लोग सबका स्वागत है। और फिर एक बार मैं NBRI के बारे में बताना नहीं चाहूँगा, क्योंकि मैं जब से आया हूँ मुझे एक रोल दिया जाता है कि आप वेलकम करिए सर, वो सेम चीज़ को मैंने बोलता जाता हूँ। तो मैं आज वही सेम चीज़ को रिपीट नहीं करूँगा, क्योंकि आप लोग जानते हैं NBRI के बारे में। तो आप लोग सबका स्वागत है। जय हिंद, जय भारत, नमस्कार।
Thank you, sir. I now invite Dr. Anil Kumar Goyal, ex-Chief Scientist, CSIR-NBRI, and Vice President, SEB, to tell us about the society and to tell us about the memory of Dr. S.K. Jain, sir.
नमस्कार। Good morning. Dr. A.K. Sasne, Professor A.K. Jain, Dr. Saklani, Dr. Manjusha, invited guests, dignitaries in the auditorium, SEB, EC and EB members, dear scientists, research scholars, and staff members of CSIR-NBRI. I will be telling about, most of you know about Dr. S.K. Jain. He worked in the different capacities after retirement at NBRI. And for the information of the students, I would like to tell you about Dr. Jain. Dr. S.K. Jain, a renowned botanist with global recognition and popularly known as the father of ethnobotany, was born on 30th June at Amroha. He topped in post-graduation in botany in 1946 from Allahabad University. Dr. Jain earned his PhD from Pune University for his work in studies on the vegetation and arid, semi-arid and some adjacent regions of Western India under the guidance of Father H. Santapao, the then director of BSI. Dr. Jain started his scientific career as assistant professor at Meerut College, Meerut, till 1949. He worked as a stipendiary training in plant taxonomy at IVG, Kolkata, and later at the Forest Research Institute, Dehradun, and received his training under the guidance of Professor M.B. Rajada from 1949 to 51. There he came in contact with Professor N.L. Bohr, a world-renowned taxonomist on grasses. Dr. Jain also served at CSIR-NBRI as a scientific assistant in the herbarium during 1953 to 56. Dr. Jain joined as systematic botanist at Botanical Survey of India, Pune during 1956 to 1960. He served at BSI Allahabad and Kolkata centers as economic botanist from 1960 to 71. The post was recommended by Dr. E.K. Janki Amal, who prepared the revised mandate of BSI at CSIR CDRI Lucknow. She assigned Dr. Jain the duties of economic botanist to carry out the research work on economic botany and ethnobotany. Dr. Jain was transferred from BSI Shillong to Kolkata as a joint director in 1977, where in 1978 he became the director of BSI and superannuated in June 1984. Dr. Jain has a specialization in ethnobotany, medicinal plants, plant taxonomy, phytogeography, and conservation of endangered plants. He described 24 taxa new to science. Over 22 generic and specific epithets have been commemorated in his name. He was pioneer of Flora of India series in 1977. He was the mastermind as coordinator of All India Coordinated Project on Ethnobiology as a multi-institutional research project sponsored by Ministry of Environment and Forest in 1982. He accomplished several valuable research projects funded by various national and international agencies. After superannuation in June 1984, Dr. Jain joined as Pitambar Pant Fellow of Ministry of Environment and Forest at CSIR-NBRI for 3 years. He was awarded as Emeritus Scientist by CSIR for his project on comparative and directive studies in ethnobotany. The outcome of this research project was his famous publication, Dictionary of Indian Folk Medicine and Ethnobotany, in 91. This publication was presented as evidence in US courts, which helped CSIR to win India the famous turmeric patent. He was the founder president of Society of Ethnobotanists in 1980. He organized over 15 training courses at various universities and institutions to inculcate and promote ethnobotany. In 1994, Dr. Jain successfully organized 4th International Congress on Ethnobiology at CSIR-NBRI, in which more than 300 delegates, including 82 foreign dignitaries, participated. At that time, Dr. Sane was the director of the institute. On 14th August 1995, Dr. Jain laid the foundation of Institute of Ethnobiology at Lucknow as the first honorary director. The institute was later shifted to Jiwaji University in the year 2002. Dr. Jain established ethnobotany in India, mentored and guided over a dozen students in ethnobotany, plant taxonomy and conservation. Sustained efforts of Dr. Jain helped various universities to include ethnobotany in curricula for graduation, post-graduation, MPhil, as well as DPhil programs. He also initiated organization of botanical archives at CSIR-NBRI. During over 7 decades of research career, Dr. Jain published more than 300 research papers in popular articles, including 182 publications in ethnobotany alone, in national and international journals. He authored and edited over 52 books and guided 14 students for PhD degrees at various universities. Dr. Jain received many prestigious honors such as Fellowship of Indian National Science Academy INSA in 1982, Fellow of Linnean Society, Professor P. Maheshwari Memorial Medal from Indian Botanical Society, J.W. Harshvarghar Medal from SEB, S.B. Saxena Memorial Gold Medal from INSA, Dr. S. Santapao Medal from APT, and 3 Lifetime Achievement Awards from IOE, from Indian Botanical Society, and BSI in 1922. He was the first Asian to receive the Distinguished Economic Botanist Award USA in 1991. Dr. Jain had a sharp memory and remembered most of the things and was living encyclopedia till he breathed his last on 20th April 2021 due to COVID-19 at the age of 95 years. Now I will be telling you about the Society of Ethnobotanists in brief. Ethnobotany has attracted worldwide attention during the last 7 decades and has established close linkages with many subjects like botany, economic botany, conservation, medicinal plants, pharmacology, drug research, drug discovery, drug development, as well as the agriculture. For the promotion of multifarious potentialities and prospects of ethnobotany, as an international scientific body, Society of Ethnobotanists was founded during 1980 under the presidency of late Dr. S.K. Jain, the then director BSI, as a founder president. Late Dr. Akhtar Hussain as founder vice president, and Dr. N.C. Shah as the founder secretary. This society was founded at CSIR CIMEP in 1980 with the following objectives: to promote the cause of ethnobotany and related sciences in all aspects and manners, to encourage collection, documentation, and preservation of information through folklore and ancient resources about various uses of plants for posterity, and to integrate researches in interdisciplinary fields, to create awareness about the dwindling resources from natural environment and vanishing ethnobotanical and folklore knowledge, to procure the funds for meeting the above objectives. Society of Ethnobotanists attempts to fulfill the above mentioned objectives through various publications and organizing trainings, workshops, national and international symposia, conferences, and seminars, etc. SEB is publishing an international journal also regularly since 1989. So far, 34 volumes of the journal have been published till 2022. For the documentation of various aspects of ethnobotany, it carries original research papers, review articles, book reviews, short communications on ethnobotany at various tribes, including ethnomedicine, ethnochemistry, ethnopharmacology, ethnopharmacognosy, and ethnotaxonomy. The membership is open to all the researchers interested in ethnobotany and allied disciplines and in furthering the aims and objectives of Society of Ethnobotanists. There are 3 classes of members: honorary fellow, designated by the Executive Council, presently Professor Sir G.T. Prince from UK, Professor Paul Allen Cox from USA, and Dr. P. Pushpangadan from India. They are our honorary fellows. We have 500 life members, 55 foreign members. For the promotion of ethnobotany and to encourage the R&D studies, SEB established 2 medal awards in 1992. With the help of generous donations received from Dr. H. Fujiwara from Japan, the medals were named after J.W. Harshvarghar, who first gave the term ethnobotany in 1895, and Dr. E.K. Janki Amal, who first initiated and promoted organized studies on ethnobotany in India in the middle of 20th century. The first medal, Dr. E.K. Janki Amal Medal, it was instituted in 1992, awarded to a senior and active ethnobotanist for his long and distinguished services, research and promotion of ethnobotany. The first Janki Amal Medal was given to Professor Ari Schultes, Harvard University from USA. J.W. Harshvarghar Medal, instituted in 1992 for a senior and active ethnobotanist for long and distinguished services, research and promotion of ethnobotany. And the first J.W. Harshvarghar Medal was given to Dr. S.K. Jain during the closing function of 3rd ICE at Mexico on 14th November 1992. The medal awardees of 1993 and 94 were given during the 4th ICE held at CSIR-NBRI Lucknow in '94. Dr. S.K. Jain Medal instituted in 1998 for a senior and active ethnobotanist below the age of 55 years. Dr. B.N. Mehrotra Medal instituted in 2006 for a botanist who have made significant contributions in capacity building, developing a national facility in field of botany, research work in plant taxonomy and ethnobotany with special emphasis on the medicinal plants. Dr. D.C. Pal Medal instituted in 2011 for a young and active ethnobotanist below 40 years of age. Professor P. Sen Sharma Medal instituted in 2014 for a scholar working on traditional ethnic scriptures, sacred groups and sacred plants. Dr. S.K. Jain Medal Award for the best PhD thesis. For the students also we have a medal. PhD thesis in ethnobotany. It was instituted in 2014 for the studies pursuing DPhil in ethnobotany. Ethnobotany Silver Jubilee Best Paper Award also we have instituted. The award has been established for the SEB journal and has been confined to the authors of the papers in the journal, especially the young researchers and botanists, scientists associated with the journal. We have the fellowship of the society also, FES. Besides this, we have 3 local chapters, one Kerala chapter instituted in 2020, Goa chapter 2021, J&K chapter 2021. Thank you very much.
सर आइए गोयल साहब, आप तो सुने एक richness of this particular society and started by S.K. Jain. How many of you are the member? Can you raise your hand? Why not you, all the people, join this rich society as the life member? I will invite membership from all of you as a botanist. Whoever think that you are a botanist, can you please join this society? So that's a voluntary. I am not forcing you to join, but that is voluntary, and I will expect every one of your this fraternity, our fraternity, botany fraternity, should be a member, so the legacy can be carried out for the future. The botany rich legacy of this society. Thank you very much.
I request all the dignitaries on stage to please come forward to release the flyer of society.
Dr. KJ. Flyer of the journal. This is the volume 35 of the year 2023-2024. Flyer of the journal. Now we have an online journal. Dr. KJ Singh is the managing editor of this. And Dr. D.K. Singh is our chief editor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. S.K. Ojha, Chief Scientist, CSIR-NBRI and Editorial Board Member of SEB on the dais to introduce our guest speakers.
नमस्कार, आदरणीय निदेशक महोदय, अतिथिगण और हमारे सभी वरिष्ठ और कनिष्ठ साथी, मुझे बहुत मेहनती कार्य दिया गया है एक परिचय कराने का। बड़ा मुश्किल होता है कि किसी के बारे में बताना कि वो कौन है। तो मुझे गालिब का एक शेर याद आ गया था। तो ये लखनऊ है तो यहाँ पे शेर वाली बात हो जाती है। कहते हैं वो कि हम कौन है, कोई बताए या हम ही बताएं कि हम कौन हैं। तो उसी पे यहाँ पे डॉक्टर अरविंद सकलानी जी हैं हमारे बीच में और डॉक्टर जैन साहब हैं जिनके बारे में मुझे बताना है। मैं बहुत संक्षिप्त में बताना चाहूँगा। डॉक्टर सकलानी जी ही मतलब हम लोगों में यहाँ जो भी लोग होंगे उनमें से एक जैन साहब के पीएचडी स्कॉलर्स में आप ही होंगे मेरे ख्याल से हॉल में। और हमें लगता है इनको लिए एक बहुत तालियों से इनका स्वागत करना चाहिए। इन्होंने बहुत बड़े बड़े महत्वपूर्ण कार्य किए हैं अभी मैं इनके कार्यों का जो संक्षिप्त एक विवरण दे रहा हूँ। अभी फ़िलहाल ये वाइस प्रेसिडेंट एग्री बायोटेक्नोलॉजी सामी-साबिनासा ग्रुप में है। फॉर्मर प्रोफेसर ये नाइपर मोहाली में थे, और आप जो है इथनोबॉटनी, बायोडाइवर्सिटी और मेडिसिनल प्लांट के स्पेशलिस्ट हैं। साथ ही साथ मोर देन 40 इयर्स का इनका R&D एक्सपीरियंस है इंडस्ट्री और गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में। एक इनका पब्लिकेशन है जो मोर देन 700 टाइम साइटेड किया गया है। ये संभवतः ये वाला है, प्लांट डेराइव्ड कंपाउंड्स इन क्लिनिकल ट्रायल। इसके लिए बहुत इनको बधाई हो, धन्यवाद, और तालियों से स्वागत कर सकते हैं। इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर 6.6 का आपकी जो PhD थी वो डॉक्टर जैन के अंडर में की थी, और उसके भी उन्होंने बाद में एक बुक फॉर्म में पब्लिश किया, क्रॉस कल्चरल इथनोबॉटनी ऑफ नॉर्थ ईस्ट इंडिया। तो ये भी काफ़ी अच्छी साइटेड रही, गूगल में 84 टाइम्स साइटेड है। एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण काम जो किया, रेयर एंड एंडेंजर्ड स्पीसीज़ टेरोकार्पस मार्सूपियम का प्लांटेशन का था। ये एकदम मार्वलस वंडरफुल काम है, हमें ऐसा लगता है कि इससे हम लोगों को प्रेरणा लगनी चाहिए। ये इन्होंने 5,000 से ज़्यादा 50,000 से ज़्यादा पौधों का वृक्षारोपण करा, ये 2018 से 2020 के बीच में। साथ ही रेयर एंड एंडेंजर्ड प्लांट जो स्पीसीज़ हैं थ्रेटेंड, उसमें कोकम ट्री, शिवनाक या ओरोजाइलम इंडिकम और वरुण क्रेटिवा नरूला, इसका भी मध्य प्रदेश और सराउंडिंग एरिया में प्लांटेशन कराया। और पिक्रोराइजा की स्पीसीज़ का कुफवाड़ा जम्मू एंड कश्मीर में प्लांटेशन कराया। तो वास्तव में पौधों के संरक्षक के रूप में आपकी पहचान बनती है। बहुत सारे अवार्ड मिले, BN मेहरोत्रा अवार्ड, SK जैन अवार्ड, यंग साइंटिस्ट मेडल अवार्ड, तमाम सारे मेरिट ऑफ एक्सीलेंस अवार्ड है। बहुत सारे M.Pharm स्टूडेंट्स और PhDs आपके अंडर में हुई, और तमाम सारे सेवरल आर्टिकल्स आपने पब्लिश किए। तो ऐसे महान लोगों के विभूतियों के बीच में हम लोग आज आपके महान उसको उद्धरण को सुनेंगे, प्रेरणाजनक। वास्तव में ये होता क्या है कि जैसे हम इथनोबॉटनी के बारे में नॉलेज तो जान जाते हैं, लेकिन उसको एंड प्रोडक्ट तक लाने में थोड़ा दिक्कत होती है। हमें लगता है कि चूँकि आप कंपनी के बैकग्राउंड से हैं तो आप उसमें ज़्यादा हम लोगों के ऊपर हम लोगों को ज्ञान से अपने आलोकित करेंगे। डॉक्टर अशोक कुमार जैन सर के बारे में ये बताना है कि वैसे तो आप स्टूडेंट नहीं रहे हैं जैन साहब के, लेकिन आपकी पूरी मेंटरशिप इथनोबॉटनी की जैन साहब SK जैन साहब की रही, और आप डायरेक्टर ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ इथनो बायोलॉजी जो ग्वालियर जीवाजी यूनिवर्सिटी में चलती है, उसको आप देखते रहे। और तमाम सारी बुक पब्लिश करी हैं टेक्सोनॉमी में, आपने इथनो बॉटनी में और बायोडाइवर्सिटी में, ख़ास तौर पे सेक्रेड ग्रुप्स के बारे में। और एक और बहुत महत्वपूर्ण काम किया है डॉक्टर अशोक जैन जी ने, इमरजेंसी फूड यूज्ड बाय ट्राइबल एंड वर्क ऑन फ्लोरिस्टिक एंड टेक्सोनॉमी। ये जो इमरजेंसी फूड है ये बड़ा इम्पॉर्टेंट है। ये हमारा स्ट्रेटजिकली हम लोगों के लिए बड़ा इम्पॉर्टेंट इसलिए हो जाता है कि जब हमारी आर्मी लड़ने जाती तो कई बार उनके पास फूड की अवेलेबिलिटी नहीं होती, तो हम लोग ये देखते हैं कि हमारा जो ट्राइबल कम्युनिटी है वो क्या ले रही है, हम क्या उसको ले सकते हैं, क्या नहीं ले सकते हैं, उसके बारे में काफ़ी अच्छा आपने काम किया। आपको वी पुरी मेडल अवार्ड फ्रॉम इंडियन बॉटनिकल सोसाइटी से मिला, फिर JW हाशबर्गर मेडल फ्रॉम द सोसाइटी ऑफ इथनोबॉटनिस्ट से मिला। एक बुक आपने पब्लिश की, इंडियन इथनोबॉटनी एमर्जिंग ट्रेंड्स 2016 में, जिसमें कि ये डिसाइड हो पाया कि डॉक्टर SK जैन जो हैं वो फादर ऑफ इथनोबॉटनी हैं रहे, और मोर देन 20 PhD स्टूडेंट, 25 MPhil स्टूडेंट, 15 रिसर्च प्रोजेक्ट्स और लगभग 100 रिसर्च पेपर आपने नेशनल और इंटरनेशनल जर्नल में किए। इसी संक्षिप्त परिचय के साथ मैं अपनी वाणी को विराम देता हूँ, और धन्यवाद।
Thank you, sir. So, without further delay, let's invite our first speaker of the day, Dr. Arvind Saklani, to present his talk on the topic, Ethnobotany and Sustainable Bioentrepreneurship.
श्रद्धेय गुरुजी को सादर प्रणाम, विनम्र श्रद्धांजलि। आप सभी का इस हॉल में स्वागत। आई एम ऑनर्ड एंड humbled to be here today for this important occasion. I thank you, Dr. Goyal Saab, Dr. Shashne, Director NBRI, all my old colleagues here sitting in the dais, youngsters, students. It's a great occasion basically. When I entered this campus, it looks like मैं अपने मायके में वापस आ गया। 1998 में मैंने ये कैंपस छोड़ा था और तब जब 1986 में मैंने यहाँ ज्वाइन किया एज ए रिसर्च स्कॉलर, मुझे याद है कि हम लोग पूरे हर्बेरियम बिल्डिंग में सिर्फ इथनोबॉटनी की ही बात करते थे। तब यहाँ पर डॉक्टर जे.के. माहेश्वरी होते थे, डॉक्टर एस.के. जैन हुआ करते थे, डॉक्टर एस.एल. कपूर थे, आर.आर. राव जी बाद में आए। That was the time when we have many projects from government, CSIR, ICAR, CCRS, all these agencies, they were all documenting the knowledge of ethnobotany. The whole orientation was towards that. We had more than, I think, 70 to 20 scholars working on ethnobotany in this particular building. That was the golden era of ethnobotany, I must say, for this campus. Now, when I talk of ethnobotany, when I remember Dr. S.K. Jain, my teacher, my Guruji, my mentor, he is the person who initiated, nurtured, and then established in ethnobotany in India, past almost 6 decades, and then the legacy continued. Those who interacted with Dr. S.K. Jain, they would remember this particular office of Dr. S.K. Jain, always surrounded with the books, with the journals. And if you see on the left hand side, can you switch off this light? तो बंद कर देंगे इसको। यहाँ पर आप देखेंगे बहुत फटे पुराने पेजेस उनके पास होते थे, जहाँ पर छोटी छोटी चिप्पियाँ चिपका करके वो उसमें अपनी चीज़ें लिखा करते थे, the drafts, you remember? And that was a time when he would ask us and expect us to save the paper, don't misuse. तो वो हम लोग बैक साइड इसको यूज़ करते थे। इवन पूरी बुक कंपेंडियम जब उन्होंने लिखी, डिक्शनरी जब लिखी उन्होंने, तो पूरी उस तरह से लिखी गई। Now, if you see the scenario, what he has contributed and what the subject ethnobotany contributed in India and what was documented, basically it was mostly inventarization of the local traditional wisdom. And today if you see, we have more than 3,500 papers in public domain, we have more than 100 books on ethnobotany, we have more than 75 journals, those which are covering actually the subject ethnobotany in various ways. Now, today I would be talking on the subject ethnobotany and then sustainable bioentrepreneurship. Now, just remember these keywords. First is ethnobotany, second is sustainability, and then the entrepreneurship. What is important here? For any scientist, if you are working in taxonomy, the plants are important. If you are a phytochemist, for you the compounds are important, the chemistry is important. If you are in synthesis, you look for the moiety which can be derived or which can be taken care. For ethnobotanists, it's basically the ethnos, the people. Everything is centric towards like local people. We have bioresources at one end, and on the other side we have the traditional wisdom, associated traditional knowledge around that. And then what we expect, we look for the product or giving something alternative income to the farmers, to the local people in terms of some product. And then ultimately we want this to sustain for a longer generation, for a longer period. Now, if you look at the Government of India program, as Dr. Sachne mentioned, why don't you become a member or life member of Society of Ethnobotanists? So, what makes you like why you should be interested in that? Because you see many prospects there. If you look at this, all the policies like bioeconomy we are talking about, you see the environment, employment, then the economy, empowering the custodians of bioresources and the traditional wisdom. Then we have one district, one program, one product program of Government of India. So, ethnobotanists can play a vital role in these programs. Dagghar Niryat Kendra is a very innovative idea. Other day I met one of the post office, head of the post office, who is taking care of 3 states, and he said this particular scheme is really working very well. The government, the tribal people, they can export their products, their artisans, their local produce, whatever is there through this program. Now, when we are ethnobotanists, when we are taxonomists, we will go in the field, and what we basically have these BMCs in place we call biodiversity management committees. Recently formed, now we have more than 2.74 lakhs biodiversity management committees. If we are an ethnobotanist, it is our responsibility basically to educate these BMC members and tell them what they have, what they purchase, what the wealth they have. Then we have Make in India program, and the ethnobotanists can play a vital role here. Now, if you look at the upstream and downstream stakeholders there, who are basically the custodians of bioresources or the environment, and who are basically the end users or customers, there is a lot that can be done. If you look at the left hand side, for example, here, this is Parkia, and then we have इस पे काम नहीं करता है, स्क्रीन पे काम नहीं करता है. Anyway, so you see down there is a Tendupatta, left hand side. Then we have contract farming system where the local people are associated. Then we have Cassia Fistula, Maltas. Then we have Boswellia serrata, which is a big industry now. If you look at the gum region of Boswellia serrata, it has a huge export potential. We have many products on that. On the right hand side, on the top, you have Ashwagandha. There are many industries, many entrepreneurs, they are working on this, and we have more than 10,000 acres cultivation of ashwagandha in Andhra Pradesh itself. Now, we have this program from Government of India, one district, one product program, and if you see how the ethnobotanists can play an important role to come up with this kind of products, like this is Lakadong turmeric in Jayantia Hills. I have surveyed this all northeast India during my PhD days, and that time also I was observing this plant. But now, if you look at this, this is basically the Shangpung area in Jayantia Hills, but the machines that they are using for processing, primary processing, they are very primitive. So, when we are working with the local community, how to improve all these things, that must be in our mind. So, sometimes we have issues. For example, Lakadong turmeric, if you say the turmeric is a well known, we all know that. This is the only variety that we have in India which contains more than 7%, maybe 8% sometimes curcumin content. But then how to really take it forward? I remember the head of this program, when she talked to me and she wanted me to really purchase for this my company, because we are processing almost 40 to 45 tons of dry material per day in our 8 manufacturing units. But then I said, you are producing only 100 to 100 metric tons of turmeric. So, it is not sufficient even for 3 days for us. Why don't you develop some technique there itself and make it an exportable product? And they are working on that. So, there are many things that can be done. Now, when I talk to this particular factor, somebody is talking there at the last, excuse me. Yes. Now, this particular program, one student, one product program. We have Dr. A.K. Jain, Dr. A.K. Goel here, and we had been discussing this. This is what I feel is important for any ethnobotany student when you are taking a PhD program. Right in the beginning, if the supervisor tells you that other than like publishing 1-2 publications for UGC or maybe some other requirements, why don't you commit for one product? Because the society that you would be interacting with, they have huge potential. You think of any area here, food, medicine, wellness support, skincare, fiber, textile and what not. Even for environmental conservation, for sustainability, agriculture, horticulture, you think of any discipline that is covered by economic botany, the ethnobotanists can play an important role there and can really design a good product for the community per se. If right in the beginning, if you are given the target that you have to design a product for the community that you are going to study, believe me, you will become an entrepreneur right in the beginning itself, because you will be identifying the product, you will be really searching all the literature, you will be interacting with the entrepreneurs, local entrepreneurs, you will be searching for the industry that can manufacture that product for you, and then you can really go for maybe large scale manufacturing, and tomorrow you may establish an industry for the community itself. This is one example everybody knows, Trichopa zeylanicus Jiwaji, and this was a successful program, but at the same time we should remember this particular product is not seen much in the market. Even the Trichopas also, we do not see that much effort has been made for conservation of this program, because when we take up a product, now I am in the industry past 23 years. So, I know our project basically is given for 3 months, 6 months or maximum 9 months. We have to complete the project, we have to deliver the product. So, it can be done, it is possible, but then it should have an impact and good impact in the market, it should be seen in the market, that makes it important. We all know this, how rich we are. I am not going to tell people here in this August gathering, but if you see down there on the left hand side, the number of plants screened by CDRI reported during 1968 to 96, that is a point of concern. See, if you look at the diversity that we have in India and the associated knowledge that we have in India is huge, and if the whole organization, if they spent like more than 38 years to complete this job, and that too for limited screens, they could screen all these species, hardly maybe 3000 is 488 species, who is going to really evaluate all our maybe 18,000 species, if not all, maybe 10,000 species. So, we need lot of maybe collaborations or maybe studies to be done. All diversity, then we have within even family we have huge diversity, intraspecific diversity, species diversity. Then we have this traditional wisdom documented or maybe passed from one generation to another in different forms. Now, if you look at the strength of ethnobotanists, when you go in the field, try to meet such doctors, such local healers, or maybe entrepreneurs, if they have something unique in that particular society, and if you talk to them. He is my friend Gerhom Peckinton in Jaintia Hills. He has treated more than 100 cancer patients through just using the local herbs. Now, he has all the clinical evidence also. It is not that just like he is showing pictures, he has all the evidence. So, that means there is a huge potential. Okay. We have to just explore that, we have to work with these people and then try to come up a good product for the community, but at the same time it is difficult to convince the local healers or maybe the knowledge holder to pass on this knowledge or to maybe maybe open up, but we have to establish a rapport and then maybe talk to these people. So, now we all know what has come from ethnobotany, right from aspirin, codeine, colchicine and so many are there, artemisinin, even it has ethnobotanical lead. Now, when Dr. Jain compiled this dictionary, I was also part of this program. That time he documented 2,500 species there, but when later it was revised in 2016, it was a compilation of 4,600 species, few were common, few were additional. Huge wealth we have in terms of ethnomedicine as well. You see the disease areas, ailments or disorders, you have answers in ethnomedicine as well. I am just touching because there are so many things that cannot be discussed in this short time. Even I created a database for skin and hair care, which is a big market today in a cosmetic industry. So, you see how many species are there and how many prescriptions are available with the local people itself. We have to explore that. Now, this was another aspect that we took up in 1986 when I joined my PhD program. Dr. Jain, actually initially I was registered for my PhD in Gwalior University, but then they said no, we cannot do that work repeatedly there. So, then Dr. Jain asked me to go to Northeast India and then suggested me this topic, cross cultural ethnobotany. So, basically when we are talking about different communities, how they are using the plant resources for various purposes, and what are the similarities, dissimilarities, what are the advantages and disadvantages. So, that brings out lot many good information there. See, you document basically on the ethnobotany, ethnic communities, and then bioresources, availability of bioresources, because if you have to go, if you are an entrepreneur, you want to develop some product out of it, you must have idea of the availability of the resource itself, whether it is really available in the volume. Now, one more thing here, the endemics. This is our property. So, if you say we have like 30-35% endemic species in the country, so who is going to evaluate that? It is our responsibility, and it is basically our maybe the wealth that we can explore, and we can really develop some product out of it. Nobody is going to do that. If you remember tsunami time, the last end of the country that in Car Nicobar area, it just washed away. And that is what we say, when we have such kind of natural calamities, the complete vegetation wipes out. If we have not documented that the resource basically, if we have not evaluated that resource, if we have not documented the traditional wisdom associated to that, then it is a loss. It is a loss for generations, and it is basically our fault. Some resources, if you see the potential of the resources that tribals are using for various purposes, if you see on the left hand side, CIMAP has worked on this. This is Perilla frutescens. It is very rich, the only I think one of the important source for vegetarians, where we have is rich in omega 3, 6 and 9 fatty acids. Then we have Parkia, it is used in Manipur profusely. They imported it from Myanmar, and then now they are using it, but it is a very good source of protein as well. So, can we develop maybe such products? Then on the right hand side, I put their black ginger. It is almost like works like a ginseng. We have some communities in Manipur, they are using it, and I actually promoted cultivation of this black ginger in Manipur. Now, it is cultivated more than 25 hectares in Manipur itself. Now, few things that I have put on the left hand side, the Garcinia, we are using Cambogia or Garcinia indica, but there are many species in Northeast India as well that can be evaluated and documented. We must have white paper for all these important resources. Now, there are various factors, I am not going to go in detail, which are actually deteriorating all these things, like environment, the need and the knowledge base basically. Today, if we have a community, they are working, they are using that particular resource, but tomorrow they may not be interested to even pass on that knowledge to next generation. So, that is a huge loss, that is another factor. So, how to convince them to pass on this knowledge? Now, Society for Ethnopharmacology, they have taken a very good initiative. I think even the Society of Ethnobotanists also, we can join them, or we can create a maybe something like that. What they are doing is they are inviting traditional healers in all the conferences, and we have, I am part of it right from the beginning, because we are sponsoring this program. So, we are talking to the traditional healers directly, we are trying to convince them, you come out with the product, we will file IP for you, it is your knowledge, you will be a shareholder, complete shareholder, you will hold that everything, all the profits will come into. So, this kind of things can be maybe think of. So, when I remember these two father figures, Dr. S.K. Jain and Dr. Sundarlal Bahuguna, Mr. Sundarlal Bahuguna, he happens to be uncle of my wife. They were very close friends, And I remember in this particular hall, when we organized, Dr. Goel mentioned the 4th IC International Congress of Ethnobiology, he came here, and both were committed for their own disciplines, like Dr. Jain for ethnobotany, Sunilal Bahuguna for environment. And I remember in this very auditorium, Bahugunaji that day he said, in the time to come, all these things will vanish. He fought for this Terry Dam, this particular site where now we have so many villages and all associated knowledge, wisdom is completely sunk. Okay. So, he says in the time to come only one industry will flourish, and that will be war industry. Still I remember categorically what he said, and today we are witnessing that. But we have to really document all this knowledge before it completely vanishes like this. This is another area I am just wanting to show you. I studied here on the left hand side what was the situation. Today you see the concrete jungle. Now, how actually for the entrepreneurs, basically when we talk about the designing of the product, how we can do that, how to identify a product for the community, that is important for us. If they are very good at maybe folk arts or artisans or the knowledge of folk song, what can be taken to the maybe market, I do not say market, but maybe for the commercial level, so that their economy is actually benefited. We have to give them something alternative income. So, we have to work on their strength, what they purchase, like Dr. Rawatji, he is sitting here, he is working in remote places and he is designing the product for the community there. So, similarly we have so many categories that we can really think of. Now, how to equip yourself, how to identify the related stakeholders, because once you decide on something, some product, you have to find somebody who can take it up further, because you are not really equipped. I remember long back I was in RL Jorhat, I think that was in 96 or no 2006 maybe, and I was talking to director there. So, what they said, see, even for us it is difficult. We have collected so many plants here, we have created a plant extracts here, we sent it for evaluation, but it has been like 3-4 years we have not got the results. So, we have to work on a very fast pace. That is another important thing here. When you are working as a research scholar, as a student, right from the beginning you have to come up with a complete methodology, so that when you submit your PhD program, you should have a product in hand. So, for that you have to really think of all these things, how to protect the IP also for the local people, that is also important. So, I am just giving you one example of this ethnomedicines in drug discovery program. You all know how this goes right from the lead identification to lead optimization, development and drug candidate, then we go for clinical trial and I go for NDA, I write from IND to NDA and all these things. But then what is important for us as an ethnobotanist, when we go in the field, if you do not document all these things, it is a futile exercise, it is a waste. If you simply go in the field and just say Azerotona conjunctivitis made into a paste and applied on the wounds for healing, it does not serve the purpose. We have to have a complete record of all the information, right from the data on the healer, whether he is acceptable in the society, how efficacious is he, you look at the safety aspect or efficacy of the product and all that, how he is diagnosing the concept of disease, symptoms, how it is really basically all the kinds of things that you have to document. Even for ethnopharmacology, it is not just pharmacology, you have to remember what is the concept of pharmacology of that particular tribal person, how he is taking care of that. See, for example, what is the how he is removing toxins from arams or maybe some other species. If he is putting all those stuff in the float, like flowing water for 48 hours, or if he is using something for palatability or as a carrier. So, all these things must be documented properly, then only your ethnobotany knowledge is useful for the for the production and other things. See, the doses, duration of treatment, indications, contraindications, efficacy, safety, all these things are important. What is the dosage form basically is using. They have all these secrets with them, because they have been using all these things for generations and generations. Okay. They have all, if when I say this all these things, I believe in maybe ancient past, you know, if you remember those times, there must be hundreds of thousands of independent medicinal systems within the tribal communities. When they got mixed up, when they exchanged their ideas, then only this traditional system of medicine like Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, all these things originated. I worked in Brazil for 2 months in Amazon forest, and I very much remember we actually documented 450 species which are common in India and Brazil, and they, this tribals, many uses were basically all same. There were no difference. So this is interesting. That means the efficacy of that particular product is already well established. So sometimes we say this is all like quackery and all that. Even the your Westerners or maybe people in Europe, they say all over, even Ayurveda also is a waste. But then we have to have that kind of guts, or we have to say authoritatively, look, first you maybe study all these things and come forward for discussions. Now, raw material, because now when we talk of the bioresource, so what is important there? When we identify taxonomy is important, population study is important, we have to collect the samples for various purposes, right from drug discovery program or maybe for many other evaluations at a lab scale, or when you go for pilot scale, it will be totally different scenario. When you go for production, it will be totally different scenario. Like in our factory, when we get samples, I will give you an example like turmeric. Okay, when somebody sends, he will give us the best sample from his lot. But when it actually comes, when the lot, basically the lorry would enter in the factory gate, it will be totally different. We have to reject it. Okay, so that kind of things should not happen. So we have to study the sample size variations, like we had this, like Tinospora cordifolia. Tinospora cordifolia is one of the species. If you look at the populations in different parts of the country or geographies, you will find a lot of variations there. In many places, you will see some steroids also, some like agdisterones or maybe cordifoliosides. You have tinophone. So many things are there. So you have to identify, like Andrographis paniculata. I know for sure which are the population in the country where we have maximum andrographolites available in that particular population. If you want to go for like production, either you really identify those populations or improve that. This is like on associated knowledge. So basically, when you go for this, when you have to identify the custodians, basically you have to really establish rapport with them, and you have to gather all the information. So regulators is another important thing. When you go for production purpose, if it is a rare species or a CITES listed species, this total ball game completely, it changes completely. Then now we have regulatory authorities like biodiversity authorities, we have National Biodiversity Authority, we have state biodiversity boards. They have their own regulations. I have been working with on this Biological Diversity Act. I was part of this amendment of this Biological Diversity Act, and also joined this joint parliamentary committee to defend our things on behalf of nutraceutical industry. So what I suggested there, that we have today more than 2.74 lakh BMC, Biodiversity Management Committee, that has been created by State Biodiversity Board or maybe by NBA. Okay. Now, why don't you actually recruit taxonomists in those biodiversity committees? That's important. Now, what I feel is when we recruit taxonomists, that will help the community, that will help the scientists, that will help actually the bioresource as well. Unless we have correctly identified the species, nobody would really be able to use that, the species properly. So that is important. Now, when we have taxonomists, I suggested them, if not possible for all the BMCs, why don't you just consider maybe 3 to 5 BMC, one taxonomist. Ultimately, this discipline will not disappear. What we are seeing today, the cognosy, taxonomy, and many even natural products is disappearing fast. Nobody is interested in natural products also. People are looking for semi-synthesis, they are looking for synthetic derivatives and all that. Basically, we have to go back and see our strength first. So that's important. Now we have many other, like if you are importing something, plant quarantine will come in the pictures. So there are so many categories where our plants can be utilized for healthcare or maybe traditional medicine, developing herbal medicine. Even nutraceutical is a big category now that we talk about. Phytopharmaceutical, though we do not have much success as on today, but we see a huge potential there in this category, and we have a different like set of rules for that. Only 4 drugs actually we see today from the botanical origin. This is another matter of concern that I had been telling you. So many companies, so many organizations, they started drug discovery program, but they shut their doors. I was part of Piramal R&D. I was taking care of plant-based drug discovery program there, but then in 2014 they decided to close it. And what we lost, that I know. I created a plant extract library there of 2,900 species, 8,400 extracts. Everything was like in the completely barcoded MTP format, and that we screen for maybe more than 20 different assays. So overnight things disappeared. This is the library I was talking about. That's a big device. Even when we closed, actually immediately I wrote to Dr. Swati Piramal, wife of Ajay Piramal ji. तो उन्होंने मुझे 2 घंटे के अंदर जवाब दिया. We had lot of pressure from the stakeholders. We spent more than 2,000 crores on this R&D, but there was some problem. If you know that P276, our molecule, it had some cytotoxicity issues, and there were at the end the phase 2 clinical trial, it was almost through. Then we had another 1446, and there were 14 molecules actually in pipeline. But then I believe it's a matter of debate and talk. I mean, there are so many things. Yes, sure, anytime. But it's a big loss. I remember we had Sabbox. We spent more than 1.5 CR for that, and they just dumped it. Even in my lab, actually, I had some 7 rotary, some we just donated outside, but few things were just dumped there in the same building. Anyway, now this is another thing that we are talking about. This is called nutraceutical industry, and it's a big coming up, big boost now. In 1991, our chairman, Dr. Muhammad Majid, he passed away last year. He started this industry in the country, nutraceutical industry in India, and we call him father of Indian nutraceutical industry. And today, if you see more than 300 MSMEs, they are working on this. It's a big market. It's now going to be maybe $600 billion maybe after some time. But then today, if you see the share of India is very less, it's not much. But still, if you consider all the herbals, everything, it's basically nutraceuticals that is contributing towards export, not even the Ayush industry. He is Dr. Muhammad Majid, and if you see the strength of this organization, of my organization there, now we have more than 500 patents granted, okay, on various aspects. Then we have these manufacturing facilities in different parts. We have 8 manufacturing facilities in and around Bangalore or Hyderabad. One is in Utah, US. Then we have R&D center where there are 120 scientists working, and it's many things that we are working on. We have presence in 19 countries today. It's a big setup now. So all this is on the right hand side. If you see this supercritical fluid extraction facility, this is the first in India that was installed to this capacity with the help of IIT Mumbai. Dr. Majid established, I think, wherein we can process maybe 800 kg of raw material per day. Now again, we advocate that what is important is food security, herbal security, health security, but what is important today is herbal security, okay, that we must remember. And all these 3 pillars of what we call Biodiversity Act, like conservation, sustainability and benefit sharing, all these things need to be taken care when we are talking about entrepreneurship. Now if you see, he is Dr. Muhammad Majid on the right hand side. Why I showed this picture here is, this is the plant where like CDRI worked upon. Dr. Goel was also part of that, and that time both were working parallelly, CDRI and this organization Sami-Sabinsa. So Hext actually discovered this forskolin. Okay, there was some issue in the structuralization, that's a different matter, but then basically it was taken up by Dr. Majid for commercial cultivation. Okay, and today if you see the success of this particular crop, it is more than 10,000 farmers. It is a livelihood for them, it's an alternative income for them, and this is a huge export potential. And if you see how it was developed, see for example like NBRI or many other organizations, how they can play an important role in such programs. This was the plant which was occurring in Himalaya. This was the plant, basically it was little bit cultivation was there down there in the southern parts of India or maybe in Gujarat for pickle purpose, but then they wanted to have a good genotype wherein the forskolin content is very high and they get good biomass as well. So for that Sami-Sabinsa and Hixt actually they both worked together and gave this PhD program or maybe these projects to outside universities, and they developed a good genotype where they had a good forskolin content and also good biomass. Coleus forscoli. Coleus forscoli. This is another one that we were just talking about, this curcumin, and we have so many products now today. We are the basically brand in the world. We are the world leader in curcumin C3 complex. Now we have white curcumin as well for many purposes, because if you see the curcuminoids, it has this curcumin or DMC and BDMC, bis-dimethoxycurcumin. So basically when you go for this THC, the tetrahydrocurcumin, so it becomes like more bioavailable for the gut. So THC was thought by Dr. Majid because it is outside itself is the same thing that we are preparing. Now this is alarming situation for us. We all say curcumin is our product or neem is our product, but if you see the patent regime, how many patents are there total, like WIPO or maybe in the US, if you see this ratio, we are nowhere. Absolutely we have missed the bus. We may say 100 things outside, but if you see 4,385 patents on curcumin and we have only 264 here, 333 there, neem 1,000, more than 1,000, we have hardly any there. It's negligible, and we say this is our product. So that's what I said in the beginning. If you have endemic species, please work thoroughly and don't let it go outside. We have to really save these things. This is another thing, ashwagandha. This is all we know about it, but now how international players actually are killing the product in different markets, like Denmark, they recently banned. We have Dr. Sharad here, or Dr. Manjush, you may be knowing all these things. So we are fighting for this now in Europe, and what they said is root is safe initially. There are some commercial angle is also involved in that. There are one industry, two industries. They said that in Ayurveda what we are using is only root. There is no mention of aerial parts. Okay, and what they said is there is a special extraction methodology. They are using milk and maybe all this traditional method, not the other solvents. That was one. Now what happened is when we went out, and these peoples in Europe, now US is not a problem for us as on today, but in Europe they said there is a problem in the root, in the aerial parts. So what's the guarantee that root is safe? Okay, and that's how the DTO, they basically completely banned in Denmark. Now even the UK is also about to follow that. So we are working through EFSA in Europe and trying to sort it out, this issue. Russia is also, yeah, almost, yes. For no reason. Basically, when they talk, even there is one, doctor must be knowing liver talk. It's one individual, but he keeps creating nuisance there. This is another species, I think just our Ojaji mentioned about that. This is a Pterocarpus marsupium. How this local people were using basically for, they were making cups and putting water in that, soaking that, in the overnight, and then maybe drinking that water for diabetes control. This is a Boswellia serrata that I was just referring to. This is for conservation program. This are regulatory things that we are facing so many things that we can maybe think of when we are talking about developing any product. We have to remember all these things. So what's the way forward? I will just maybe in another 5 minutes, I will not take much time. I'll just maybe forward few slides of what's important here, we have, when we document, the information should be useful, it should be effective information, and then it must be product oriented information. Right from the beginning we have to think about it. Then we work on the cross cultural aspects, make aware the community, and basically identify the unique bioresource for them, prioritize their TK, help generations, IP for them, that's important. Now this is what I feel is important today. See, as I said in the beginning, if our we have natural calamities, we have various regions like modernization, rehabilitation, so many things are there now coming up, and if you lose biodiversity like that and the associated knowledge, so we will not be left with anything. So unless if we create this kind of libraries, like we have ethnomedicinal plant extract library, or we have ethnobotanical plant library, so wherein like in Northeast I propose a repository of all the resources where it can be captured and where it can be deposited, so that people at least they would know what we had and what is the strength of this particular region or the discipline itself. Then now, because we are talking about ethnobotany, ethnomedicine, can we design a product oriented syllabi for this is important for us. So value addition. Now I'll just maybe run through some pictures here just to refresh. Dr. S.K. Jain, this is the biography I wrote long back. Here you see some people, Dr. S.L. Kapoor, the Dr. Sane, then Dr. S.K. Jain, Madam there, Dr. N.C. Shah, Dr. Ved Prakash unfortunately is no more. I am sitting in the front, Dr. J.K. Maheshwari, he used to sit upstairs, Dr. Ved Prakash there, Dr. Mudgal, Dr. Sinha, unfortunately these 5 people they passed away, and you see many other like this is a training program basically Dr. Jain actually started in 1986. This was in the new block there. This was the 4th International Congress that Dr. Jain organized, and that important to understand here is that was the time in 1994 when we had plague, and many foreigners actually they refused to come, but still we had 82 foreigners there in those days. Dr. Sane here, then we have Daryl Posey on the left hand side, Tony on the right hand side, we call him Tony, and Tony Cunningham, he is in Australia nowadays. Again this workshop with Dr. Schultz, he is father of modern ethnobotany. Even in his old age also Dr. Jain was continuing all his works at home with the Honorable Prime Minister. With Father Santapao, and I remember Dr. Jain always, whenever he would remember Father Santapao, he would maybe tell us something about interesting about him. He would say, see, Jain साहब को उन्होंने कहा भाई आप सर आप घर पे खाना खाने आइए, तो उन्होंने अपनी वाइफ को कहा भाई चलो भाई सत्या जी आज घास फूस खाने चलना है ना जैन साहब के घर में. तो he would remember always Father Santapao, but he would tell a lot many things about him. He is the first Asian, as Dr. Goel mentioned, to receive this award, a very prestigious award. All these accolades. He was president of ISTAM. He was here in this auditorium itself. Some of his students, Dr. Goel is seen there. Now, I just maybe quickly in 2 minutes I'll not play it much, but you listen his voice. Can you make it audible? Where is the आवाज़ कहाँ से आएगी देखिए 100% ना Where is the mic system? Anyways, it's not audible here in any case. But I think if we are able to play that later, it will be interesting. You know, if you listen, Dr. S.K. Jain, and it was a conversation between Dr. S.K. Jain and me on the phone, and he was telling me basically how this ethnobotany started in the country. Yeah, I think now. So that's what somewhere I think it is heard, but then I don't know where is the mic. Volume is a issue here. Anyway, thank you very much for patient listening. Correct. जी नहीं ये जो जी जी मुझे पता है देखिए जहाँ तक टिनोस्पोरा की बात है, गिलोय की बात है, गिलोय में बहुत ज़्यादा वेरिएशंस हैं। एक वर्कशॉप किया था, 1 डे वर्कशॉप आयुष मिनिस्ट्री ने, काफ़ी पहले की बात है, शायद 2018 की बात है, ऐसा कुछ है। हम लोग वहाँ गए थे और एक छात्रा थी, उन्होंने प्रेजेंट किया बहुत सुंदर पेपर, करीब 300 कंपाउंड इसमें रिपोर्टेड हैं और कहाँ कहाँ कैसे कैसे होते हैं। हम चूँकि इंटरेस्टेड थे एक डाइस्टेरोन्स में और स्टेरोन्स में, वी फाउंड अ पॉपुलेशन, बट मैं यहाँ नहीं बोल सकता, ये थोड़ा मुश्किल है। मैं इंडस्ट्री से आता हूँ इसलिए बहुत सारी चीज़ें पता होती हैं, मैं वही चीज़ बोल पाता हूँ। नहीं, काफ़ी चीज़ें हैं, आप हर रिसोर्स के बारे में, बिकॉज वी हैव 120 प्रोडक्ट्स, आप किसी की भी बारे में जी। एंड्रोग्राफिस में चलिए मैं इतना बता देता हूँ आपको कि जो वाइल्ड में है उसमें अच्छा कंटेंट है, एंड्रोग्राफिलेट्स काफ़ी ज़्यादा हैं। मैं आपको बोल भी देता हूँ, आप झारखंड में जाइए, झारखंड में अच्छी जगह है जहाँ पर आपको अच्छा कंटेंट मिलेगा, अच्छी खासी मिल जाएंगी आपको, अच्छी क्वांटिटी मिल जाएगी आपको। नहीं स्ट्रेस तो है, और हाँ जी, वो एक जी वो कॉमन ट्रेंड है जी। नहीं अभी ये देखिए हमारी हल्दी जो है, हम तो बहुत ज़्यादा काम करते हैं और मेरे पास मैंने एक बहुत अच्छा मैप भी डिज़ाइन किया है उसका, बेसिकली हल्दी का, कि कहाँ कहाँ पॉपुलेशन कैसी है और कहाँ कितना कर्कुमिन कंटेंट है। इवन वी वेंट टू अ डिफरेंट लेवल वेयर वी हैव गुड अमाउंट ऑफ BDMs इन हाउ इट इज़ एक्चुअली इफेक्टिंग आवर एक्सट्रैक्टेबल कुरकुमिन। तो वो सब चीज़ें हैं और काफ़ी चीज़ें हैं सब कहने वाली। आपसे बातें करते हैं आराम से बैठ करके। धन्यवाद, थैंक यू।
Thank you, sir, for such a stimulating talk. Now, for our next speaker, I would like to invite Dr. Ashok K. Jain to present his talk on ethnobotany journey through ages.
लाइट ऑफ करवा दीजिए आके। एनलार्ज कर दो इसको, ये हटा दो। कहाँ से फॉरवर्ड करना है? ये फॉरवर्ड है, ये बैक है, और ये
इससे सर हाईलाइट के लिए
अच्छा।
आएगा नहीं सर।
So, good afternoon everybody. I am really very happy to be here today on a very special occasion. Honorable Dr. A.K. Shasne, Director CSIR-NBRI and the President Society of Ethnobotanists, Dr. A.K. Goyal Sahab, Vice President, Dr. Manjusha Srivastav ji, Secretary of the Society, other members and office bearers of the Society, senior scientists sitting before me, my dear young scholars, budding scientists. Dr. Saklani has told you about modern trends in ethnobotany, and he mentioned so many things. And I will take you to the past, the journey of ethnobotany since time immemorial, and how that journey began. We don't know it exactly. I have prepared this lecture especially for these young scholars, these budding scientists, because most of our senior scientists, senior botanists, they know much about it, about the history. I dedicate my lecture and I pay my tribute to very respected Dr. S.K. Jain. He was my mentor. Actually, he initiated ethnobotany in me. I was not a direct student of him, but in spite of that, I was his student. Almost every day for many years, we would discuss on phone, or many times I would come over here at his residence or at NBRI to discuss ethnobotany. So, Dr. Jain taught me ethnobotany. I am grateful to him. I am not mentioning his contribution or other things because Dr. Goyal and Dr. Saklani, they have already mentioned about the contribution, great contribution of Dr. S.K. Jain. For young students, I would like to say, I want to remove one doubt, one confusion from their mind, that most of the persons, they think that ethnobotany is only the study of medicinal plants. I would say here, ethnobotany is not only the study of medicinal plants, but it is studied in two ways, the abstract as well as concrete. Abstract, which we can't see, we can feel in the form of faith, taboos, totems, etc., and concrete, which we can see in the form of medicinal plants, food, house building material, conservation, plants and fine arts, pharmacy, etc., etc. So, these two aspects, under these two aspects, the ethnobotany is studied. The ethnobotany, it has its own theoretical significance, but now it has become a subject of great practical value, and its application can lead to the strengthening of cultural diversity and conservation and greater sustainability in the exploitation of plant resources. As told by Dr. Saklani, he mentioned about so many plants, the resources and how to utilize them. And not only this, in earlier days, what was the idea what we thought about these tribal people, these indigenous people, that they are illiterate, they know nothing, and they were backbenchers. But after the emergence, after the study, after the implication of ethnobotany, the ethnobotany has helped in various ways. It has helped these tribal inhabited, several tribal inhabited countries, and to change the image of local people. Now we know that they are very, very knowledgeable people, these tribal people, and about development have more respect for cultures and authority of rural communities. This happened only due to development, due to evolution of ethnobotany. We know that for millennia there was an intricate relationship between plants and the human beings for various purposes, for food, medicine, construction material, weapon, etc., etc. And that relationship was much before the writing era, writing age. And when the writing age came and it continued, then we came to know about the significance of this ethnobotany, and this importance of plants. It can be found in non-verbal expression of culture in the form of painting, in the form of monuments, statue, carvings, and evidences from plant remains. Now, there are two very interesting and two very important aspects. One is the biological diversity and another is the cultural diversity. We know that whatever biological diversity we see is a resultant of evolution of several and millions of years, and now we see it in the form of genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity. With the development of biological diversity, when evolution started, man became some intelligent, and when he looked for his necessities, which to eat, which kind of food to eat, which kind of plants could be used for curing their diseases and several other things, then he looked forward towards diversity, and during this course of evolution, this course of development, the culture developed. Then plants became intricate part of the life of human being, and plants were used for several purposes, including several festivals, several rituals, several traditions, etc. And we know it well in our country how plants are very intimately associated with the cultural diversity. I have divided this entire evolutionary process of ethnobotany into these 5 phases: pre-Christian or prehistoric era, plant and other materials described or depicted in various forms, as I told you, in the form of carving, in the form of painting, etc., etc. Then early Christian and medieval period, when oral traditions and early written texts described. Then from 15th to 19th century, when economic botany focused on indigenous use of plants, then economic botany came into being. And in early 20th century, the description of relationship between people and plants. Then we came to know about the multidisciplinary approach of plants, not only for medicine but for other purposes also. And modern period, several new approaches of ethnobotany are there, and many of them have already mentioned by Dr. Saklani. Now I would like to tell you, when we are talking about the history and the evolution of ethnobotany, that in various important civilizations of the world, how gradually men came to know about the uses of plants. For example, the Chinese civilization, very old civilization, then Mesopotamian or Sumerian civilization, Indus Valley, Egyptian civilization, Mayan civilization developing in southeastern Mexico and North Central America, ancient Greek civilization, Persian civilization, the modern day Iran, Roman civilization, very important civilization, and it was there in entire Mediterranean basin, most of the Western Europe and parts of North Africa, etc. Incan civilization developed, remained for a very short period, and Aztec civilization, it developed in central Mexico. So, in all these civilizations, we find evidences of usage of plants for various purposes. In New Stone Ages, there are evidences, some 8000 to 5000 BC. People knew about the preparation of devices, various devices they designed. Prehistoric period, in prehistoric period, people have experience of about plants, food, poisons and other curing agents, and they have been known and used medicinal plants. Here are some examples below about poppy, dwarf elder, etc., etc. The ancient Mesopotamian civilization, it was developed between the rivers Tigris and Euphrates. The land was very, very fertile, and the first medical data from this civilization comes, it was developed some 5000 years from now, or some over 2600 BC. There was a kingdom, several doctors were there, several priests were there, and the curing persons, curing people, they were known as Ashipu. One very important thing, the evidences are there that some 1600 BC, 40 clay tablets, not tables, wrongly typed, 40 clay tablets with medical treatments were found. I will tell you about these clay tablets, and several important healing gods were there during that period. So, that was Sumerian civilization, and that civilization is also known for its innovations in writing, medicines and advanced agriculture. These are clay tablets which were there, which were designed during that civilization. Actually, these clay tablets, they were a fundamental medium for record keeping, communication in ancient Mesopotamia. These tablets were created from soft clay that was then inscribed with cuneiform script. This script, cuneiform script, it was an ancient writing system which originated in Mesopotamia, and it was characterized by wedge-shaped marks. You see the different marks, and most of these marks, they have a broader base and tapering end, and several other types of structures were there, and they were written by, in reed stylus, a writing implement or pen. This reed stylus, a pen made from dried and shaped reed of bamboo. So, you can imagine how intelligent those people there in that civilization. One more evidence comes from the same civilization, Sumerian civilization. Here you can see the headdress of the queen of Sumerian civilization, and these leaves, they were beautifully designed and they were worn by the queens of that period. We also find a harvester sickle, some 3000 BC, made from baked clay during this culture. Then Indus Valley civilization, some 3300 BCE, and it was a Bronze Age civilization, and we know about this civilization because this civilization is very much concerned with our country, and it thrived in northwestern region of South Asia, and this part is mostly now in Pakistan. It was also known as Harappan civilization and known for its advanced urban planning. In many popular articles and in many books, we see that the cities, they were planned beautifully, they were planned systematically. Standard weights, measures, sophisticated drainage system was there, agriculture, plant use and craftsmanship. Then Egyptian civilization, some 3100 BC, And this it was flourishing along the Nile River, and it is known for its sophisticated culture, very popular civilization, monumental architecture, complex religious beliefs, and advancement in mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. And there is one scripture known as Kahun Medical Papyrus. This is known as the oldest known medical text in Egyptian history. And this Kahun Medical Papyrus was written some 1900 BC, and several plants, poppy, senna, etc., etc., they were described in the book of King Hammurabi, some 1770 BC, during that period. At the same time, we find these beautiful ancient Egyptian wall carving of stalks of wheat in Egyptian civilization. So, this civilization, we know about mummies and process of mummification. What they believe that life does not finish with death. That was a staunch belief of Egyptian people. So, they would save, they would preserve their kings and queens in the form of mummies. And some special and complicated customs were there, and they would apply materials for embalming the body like animal fats, tar, bee wax, and some medicinal plants like essential oil of cedar, camphor, juniper, resin, cassia, myrrh, wine of palms, cinnamon, thyme, etc. Several such kind of materials, such kind of plants and their properties, they were known to these people. That's why those mummies could be preserved for a longer period. Then papyrus roll of Abers, very important and very unique scripture, and it was kept at the feet of a mummy in Theba, and it was reported by Abers. Its size was 20 meter long and 30 centimeter wide, approximately 110 pages. There are 800 descriptions about diseases and their symptoms, and several medicinal plants mentioned below. They have been mentioned in these rolls, and some other things are there. But very important is, you see the last line, moldy bread onto the wounds. They knew that a moldy bread can cure the wound. That, and later on we know that penicillin was discovered when he saw the occurrence of fungi, aspergillus on the bread. So, moldy bread onto wounds, and they knew that it has antibacterial property. So, this papyrus, it was a writing material, and it was made from a plant, Cyprus papyrus, and it was used in ancient Egypt and Mediterranean world for about 3000 years, and it was used until 11th century after the Christ CE. And Abers papyrus, it was purchased by a German Egyptologist and novelist George Aber, and in honor of Abers, it was named as Abers papyrus. Then we also find evidences that in ancient Egyptian civilization, they constructed beautiful gardens, beautiful tombs, and beautiful other buildings. So, it was an advanced civilization of that period, and we find the description of these plants against some of them diuretics and some against diarrhea. So, these are the plants which we find in Abers papyrus. Then King Assurbanipal, some 668 BC, he was king of New Assyrian Empire. At that time, the Assyrian civilization was developing, and it was the largest empire in the world, stretching from Cyprus in the west to Iran in the east, and also it included part of Egypt. And very important is the Royal Library of Ashurbanipal, it has a collection of more than 30,000 clay tablets. I showed you the slide of clay tablets. So nearly 30,000 clay tablets, they contain information on several things, on medicine, on art, culture, and so many things, 30,000 clay tablets. And we know that some in Neolithic period, and we find the grindstone for processing grain, some 7000 BC. In Roman culture, we find the harvesting machine. They knew about harvesting machine in Roman culture. Replica Iron Age quarren for grinding corn, and in our country, still in many villages, it is used by villagers. Then Hippocrates, a great philosopher of that period, some 460 BC, and he is considered as father of modern medicine. And there is a collection of over 50 books. Collectively, that collection is known as Corpus Hippocraticum. And in this Corpus Hippocraticum, we find the medicinal usage of plants, several drugs, and several other things by Hippocrates. Then Theophrastus, this is not Theo but Theophrastus, and we know this, his very popular book, the Historia Plantarum. Theophrastus, he was a Greek philosopher, and he was Aristotle's close colleague and successor as head of Lyceum, one school of philosophy in Athens. So several plants, their properties, medicinal properties, they are mentioned in this book, in Historia Plantarum, and several such illustrations are there in this book about knives, blade, drill, saw, storing materials, scissors, etc. So several things we find in this book. Then in China, I told you that oldest civilization, the China, and there was a dynasty, Han dynasty, and in that Han dynasty, you can see a mural painting depicting the plowing. At that time, they knew about the process of plowing, so in that can be seen in this mural painting. It was some 2006 BCE, and they defeated Qin dynasty during this period, and then they united Chinese society, and they very much believed in the philosophy of Confucius. So, and several evidences from Confucius texts, they can be seen in various scriptures of this period in China. Then in Babylonian civilization, and it developed some 1894 BC to 1155 BC. It was an ancient city in Mesopotamia, now present day Iraq, and there also we find, because it was a cultural and political city of the world, so we find several evidences of plant usage. Then we also find the Babylonian garden, very popular garden of that period, some 720 BC they were developed, and in their books, in their scriptures, they mention about wars, the doctors, the description of plant taxa, and some plant species are still used for various purposes. And besides using medicinal plants, they also knew about the usage of some minerals like arsenic, sulfur, mercury, antimony, etc. Dioscorides, again a great philosopher and known as father of pharmacognosy. He was a Greek physician, pharmacologist, botanist, and author of a very popular ancient book, De Materia Medica. And in that book, several plants and several things, it was written in 5 volumes, so several plants, they were mentioned in this book, and later on it was translated into 4 other languages. Then Claudius Gallienus, 131 to 201 after the Christ, and he was a Greek physician of the king Marcus Aurelius, and he was expert in humoral pathology. What is humoral pathology? At that time, they didn't believe that a disease occurs due to some pathogen, due to some bacteria or some other things. They believed that disease in human body occurs due to imbalance of fluid which is flowing in our body, not due to any other pathogen. So then he also mentioned about plant collection, identification, falsification. So in that way his contribution was great. Then Plinius Secundus, in English it is popularly known as Pliny the Elder, and he was a Roman author, the naturalist, a natural philosopher, and he wrote 36 volumes of naturalist history. 36 volumes. He mentioned over 1000 plant taxa, and it was a collection of the works of several other scientists. Then Avicenna, Avicenna Bohra, his actual name was, and commonly he was a prominent philosopher and physician of the Muslim world, flourishing during the Islamic Golden Age, serving in the courts of various Iranian rulers, and he is often described as father of early modern medicine. So he described several plants and he wrote several volumes. 2 volumes, the canon medicine were wrote in 5 volumes, and second volume comprises the description of about 780 plants, medicinal plants. This lady, the Hildegard von Bingen, she was a German composer, she was an abbess also, mystic visionary, and also a herbal healer. She was a scientist also, poet, and expert in several other fields. So she wrote many books in German, and she described several plants. Now, with this development, with this evolution, actually when we look into the history, we find that explorers and traders, they spread this science of plant in various corners of the country. They were traders, many of the traders, and they have described use of plants. That information was collected from indigenous people. One thing which is very important, we also learned from animals, because what is concept in our mind that carnivorous animals, they do not eat herbs, any type of grass, or many of us don't know that many animals, they know about the usage of plants to cure their diseases. And here are some examples. Predatory carnivorous animals frequently browsing on a very common species of grass called Cynodon dactylon to get relief from the upset stomach. Carnivorous animals feeding on this grass during that period when their stomach is upset. And nowadays also we see that many of our pets and dogs, they chew and indigest the grass to treat the flatulence and bloating. Still they use. So that was also a source of information of the science, and thus the ethnobotany developed. And many herbs of ancient origin, such as a species of geum, it is used by deer against injury. When there is injury, then the deer would use this plant. Then use of hardwoods, Tordillium apulum, family Apiaceae, by dogs to ease parturition, action of giving birth. At that time they chew this plant. Now, the source of information is very, very important, and the source of information came from 3 sources: archaeological source, sculptural source, and written record. And we see that in many countries of the world, and as I told you, in various civilizations of the world, we find this source in the form of literature, in the form of folklore. Some mythological stories are there, epic poems are there, like Mahabharata and Ramayana, etc., etc. And thousands of years old manuscripts, copper plates, palm leaves, and similar other records are there, and they are great source of information for usage of plants. When we come to our country, India, we find our literature is mainly stored in Sanskrit language, and we can classify this literature into three parts: sacred literature like Ved, Upanishad, Ramayana, Mahabharata, etc., and there are a good number of references of plants in these works. Then lay literature written by Kalidas, Magh, Bhavabhuti in the form of prose, poetry and drama, etc. Kalidas wrote a very important literature book, Meghdut. When I read that book, I found that this book is totally devoted to ecology. He mentioned several forests. He mentioned about the weather conditions of several regions of our country, flowering, fruiting, etc., etc. That book is not only a poetic book, but an environmental book. We can find the ecosystem of our country in that book. Then technical literature is there, and we find this technical literature, it mainly includes the medical work like Charak Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, and some lections like Medani Nighantu, Amar Kos, and some encyclopedial work is there like Arth Shastra and Brahat Samhita. So several such scriptures, ancient scriptures are there in our country, and several holy books in several religions were written in Bible, Quran, Jain Puran, Buddhist monks, Sikhism, etc. And many plants, they were mentioned as sacred, and in several books their properties have also been discussed. Now these medicinal plants through historical, I will not say, because I have already told about the Ebers Papyrus and Assyrian, but this Punsao of Chinese medicine is a very popular book written some 2700 BC. It consists of 40 volumes containing several thousand prescriptions and 265 drugs, including 240 plant products. Then I mentioned just now about Hippocrates, Theophrastus, Dioscorides, Pliny, Galen, etc. In Arab countries, Arab medicines were very popular, and Reis, he wrote Al-Habi Kabir, Avicenna, founder of Gracio Arabic School of Medicine, and he wrote several canons and described 719 drugs. Sharif, Information of Medicines, and Ibn Batar, he wrote Al-Fakir, and he described about 1400 drugs in his book. So then Egyptian pharmacopoeia, I have already mentioned about this Eber Papyrus, I will not repeat it. Then the use of medicinal plants in our country in various religious books, like in Rigved, Yajurved. In Rigved some 99 plants have been described. Yajurved, Samved, Soma plant has been described in Samved. Atharved, around 288 plants have been described. Brahmans, Kalp Sutra, Charak Samhita, very important Charak Samhita, and this is first recorded treatise on Ayurveda based on Agnivesh Atre Rishi, and the drugs have been divided into 50 groups or vargas. Sushruta Samhita, some 800 BC, Bhagvat, Madhavkar, he wrote Madhav Nidan, and it is mainly concerned with the diagnosis of disease. Madhav Nidan, diagnosis. Sharangdhar Samhita, a systematic materia medica. Bhav Mishra, he wrote Bhav Prakash Nighantu, containing more than 600 drugs. Devdas Kashiraj, Madan Pal, Lala Saligram. So several such ancient Indian workers, they wrote on medicinal plants in their books. And out of all, this book is very, very important, Brakshayurved, written some 1000 BC. And as the Ayurveda believes that we get sick due to imbalance of Vat, Pitta and Kapha, Rishi Parasar told that plants also get disease due to imbalance of bath, pitta and kapha in their body. And he mentioned several prescriptions. If a plant is not fruiting, if a plant is not flowering, or if you want to change the taste of a fruit, he mentioned all those things in Dakshayurved, and he mentioned in 6 parts: Bijotpatti Kand, Vanaspati Kand, Vanaspatya Kand, Virudavalli, Gulumchup and Chikitsa Kand. Then 17th century, that was the period when the economic botany came into being, and the systematic recording of plants used by different culture, it can be traced to early European explorers. They were very good explorers. They went almost in many countries of New World. They brought plants, they mentioned about their uses, and especially what was the aim? Useful to the colonial empires. Economy came here. They were interested in that aspect, and not only the plants used were described, samples taken, but the reliance of explorers on the indigenous people for food and supplies provided opportunities to reward their plant uses. And then the journey continued, and these explorers, they went in different parts. They also took physicians with them, and these physicians, they were engaged to look after people on their voyage, and colonial settlers often published work on medicinal botany and natural history. References are there. As European colonies became established, the practical use of plants by new immigrants as well as their commercial potential became the principal driver. They were mainly interested in commerce and the economic object also. Then the invasion in our country by Dutch East India Company. In 17th century, the Van Reed, full name was Hendrik Adrian Van Reed, and he served as a governor of Dutch Malabar. He employed 25 people on his book. He wrote very popular book, Hortus Malabaricus, and he described 740 plants, published in 12 volumes, and then it came into 4 languages. So what is important here? That whatever information was collected by Van Reed, it was extracted from palm leaf manuscripts. Palm leaves manuscripts were not available in Dutch country. They were there in our country, in Western Ghats. And from those palm leaves, he took information and then he compiled this book, Hortus Malabaricus. So knowledge, the real knowledge, the original knowledge was of the people of our country. Then Watt's dictionary, very important. An exhibition of collection of economic products was organized in Calcutta, 83-84, and created an awareness about the plants. And Sir George Watt, he was associated with Bengal Education Department. He was entrusted this work, and he compiled a book, Dictionary of Economic Products of India. And in present day, we see a book, very important book, Wealth of India. Actually, it's a revised form of this Watt's dictionary. Then ethnobotany. The term ethnobotany is recent, created some 200 years back, but science of ethnobotany is very, very old. It started with the evolution of civilization. J.W. Hershberger in 1896, he was first to describe, he gave this term ethnobotany as to study of plants used by primitive and aboriginal people. He combined his interest in Native American plant usage and Eastern science classification. He combined both these things and creating a new field that crossed both social and natural sciences. So he gave this term ethnobotany some 200 years back. Actually, before Hershberger, the term aboriginal botany was already given by Powers in 1873. And then the following workers, they also described ethnobotany. Earlier it was limited to indigenous people only, tribal people only, but in modern definition we find the plant-man relationship by any race, any caste, any creed, everybody. So then Johns, Fox, Dr. Jain, etc., they gave the definition of ethnobotany. Then anthropology versus ethnobotany. From this foundation mark, anthropology took over, because many of the workers, they were anthropologists, and they viewed plants as representations of cultural trait mentioned by Ford. Interdisciplinary cooperations became the norm, with botanists describing a species from a Western science point of view, and anthropologists transcribing the native nomenclature without understanding the indigenous classification. So both groups of people, they were describing plants, but the aim was of what was written was still to discover useful plant products. So in that way, anthropology also came. Then first ethnobotanical text we find in the work of Conklin, published in 1954. Then 20th century, beginning of interdisciplinary approach, and not only recent shift in focus from indigenous society, but also a change in the methods used to describe these relationships. This is very, very important. And having been the domain of anthropology for much of the 20th century, there has been a recent expansion of ethnobotany into different disciplines. Now we find several disciplines and sub-disciplines of ethnobotany. It has expanded like anything. And now we see ethnobotanical approach in various ways, in history, agronomy, linguistics, ethnology, pharmacology, archaeology, forestry, ecology, botany, etc., etc., geography. So in all ways the ethnobotany is studied nowadays, and these are modern concepts under which the ethnobotany is studied: socio-economic, impact on environment and conservation of biodiversity, ethics, demand and preservation of knowledge base, capacity building, fair sharing of benefit, that is very, very important. Dr. Saklani told about the Jeevani. That was a fair sharing of benefit, very good example. And modern scientific approach to study of ethnobotany demands precision in information, statistical support to data, and very important, quantitative or semi-quantitative analysis of field observations. Until and unless we do not do the quantitative or semi-quantitative research, our ethnobotanical work would be incomplete. And in our country, Dr. E.K. Janaki Ammal, she was then Director of Botanical Survey of India, and she first time introduced ethnobotany in Botanical Survey of India in 1956. And she wrote beautiful words. I look forward to the day when from 100 laboratories scattered in every part of the Union, the healing principles of our new plant wealth will be made available to a sick world. So she lit the fire, she lit the lamp, and then came our great Dr. S.K. Jain, and much has been told. I will not repeat all that, but the flame which was lit by Janaki Ammal in BSI, it was spread throughout the country by great Dr. S.K. Jain. Enormous work was done by Dr. S.K. Jain. He started ethnobotanical studies in tribal areas of central India, established Society of Ethnobotanists, published 50 books, several research papers, organized several seminars and several training programs, etc., and produced several PhDs. And these are various interdiscipline, because I told you it's a branch having interdisciplinary nature. Several disciplines of ethnobotany are there. I want to tell my young and budding scientists that wherever you live after this institute, wherever you will work after getting your degree or after completing your research, you can do ethnobotany everywhere. If you are in urban areas, you can do ethnobotany of urban, tribal areas or forest area, or you are interested in ethnopharmacology or interested in ethno-agriculture or in veterinary science. Several fields are there. You can do anywhere, everywhere the ethnobotanical work, and these are some sub-disciplines of ethnobotany. And a very important project was completed by Dr. P. Pushpangan, AICRPE, All India Coordinated Research Project on Ethnobiology, and several centers were established. He collected information from all nooks and corners of the country, and he mentioned that approximately 10,000 species are used by 550 tribal communities of our country for various purposes. Now this number has increased. I came to know through various published research papers. And out of 10,000, around 8,000 plant species are used for medicinal purposes. You can imagine the scope of this field. 8,000 plants are there before you. And besides medicinal plants, over 300 for pesticides, 400 for gums reagents, 550 for fiber, 1,000 plants for other purposes, 4,500 edible. 4,500 edible plant species are there in our country. How many we know? Hardly 20, 30, 40, 50 or 100. But if you go to these tribal area, ask these tribal people, you will come to know that a large number of plants are used for various purposes. And this is the time of nutraceutics, when we are searching such type of plants which are very, very useful for us. And then the modern drug discovery using ethnobotany, I will not say much because Dr. Saklani has already told about it, about the cross-cultural analysis. He made his work in Northeast India and in Africa and in South America. So, but only thing I want to say that taxonomically related medicinal plants, they cover a similar phytochemical space, and chemical similarity correlates with similar therapeutic usage. And ethnobotanical patterns can generate high confidence hypothesis in drug discovery. The modern drugs, I will not repeat it. I got this slide from my friend Dr. Chakravar, and he mentioned plants and their properties and the source of these drugs. Then these societies concerned with ethnobotany, they have been established, and now some other societies, they have also come up. So, and ethnobotanical progress in India, the tribal communities, research papers, and now this number has increased. Every day the number of publications, they are increasing. Then it has played a great role, this ethnobotany, in germplasm collection and conservation. Now we know much about our germplasm. Many people, one example is there. Nowadays we find only one variety of tomato, the hard and fleshy with thick skin. Or if you see other vegetables or other fruits, we find limited. But if you go to Haat Bazaar or weekly market of villages or some small towns, you will find there huge variety of these vegetables, these fruits. About 20 or 25 varieties of brinjal, several varieties of tomato. Now this is time when you can work on this aspect. Go to villages, go to these Haat Bazaar, weekly markets, and see that what are the varieties, because many varieties they have gone forever. Many varieties of crops they have gone forever. This is the time now. NVPGR is doing a great job, but how much they would collect? Now they are mainly concerned with legumes, but there are other fields, there are other taxa. So, wherever you go, keep a deep watch on this germplasm. Germplasm collection and conservation, micropropagation of threatened species, very important, identification of rat species, new drug discovery, exploration of new edible plants, credibility of medicinal plants again is very important. If one part of one plant, one species is used for curing skin disease in one area only, but in neighboring area the tribals they don't know about it, in neighboring state they don't know, in neighboring country they don't know, then that plant would have less credibility. But if the same plant, same part is used for curing same disease by many tribal communities in many states or in other countries also, then it would have more credibility. And Dr. Jain has made an index for calculating this credibility, right? So, this you can work, it is a table work. You collect published literature and see where it occurs and where it has been mentioned for curing this particular disease. Credibility, employment generation for indigenous local people, establishment of cottage industry, and now our central government and state governments, they are taking keen interest for establishing cottage industry by these forest products, and many such indigenous communities they are involved. Sacred groves again very important, socio-economic aspects, and development of tribal art and culture, and again it is coming up. And in this era of television and other social media, almost every day we find the art and culture of tribal people, right? In earlier days we didn't know. Even in my childhood, I didn't know what is the art and what is the culture of tribal community, but now they are displaying it. So, we are much aware about their art and culture. Now, our aim should be and our responsibility should be to promote art and culture, so they get employment. And these are some eminent ethnobotanists outside India. Many of them I couldn't put their pictures here. So, some important outside India and in our country, and many ethnobotanists are sitting here, and also in various other towns they have worked a lot and they have made extensive contribution in the field of ethnobotany. So, now there is urgency of developing applied ethnobotany. Why this urgency? Because the rapidity with which the environmental damage is occurring today. The damage is occurring at a very fast rate. Dr. Saklani displayed the slide of that area, hilly area. Earlier it was a deep forest, and then now only hotels and buildings and township has developed over there. Rapid loss of floristic and cultural diversity, a state of absolute material poverty of most indigenous and peasant people of tropical region. Absolute material poverty. Then the demands of these people for solutions to their problems and to take active roles in making decisions about the management of natural resources and about the legal status of their traditions and knowledge. And many rules have been changed, many new things they have come up, and they are coming in various forms. So, this is important. Now, how ethnobotany can be improved? There are some specific ways. Exchange of case studies, analysis and ideas among ethnobotanists. We cannot keep ourselves limited in our compartment only, in our lab only. We have to exchange our knowledge. Then only ethnobotany would improve. You have one kind of facility, in some other lab he has some different kind of facility, and with your knowledge he can develop something else. So, exchange of case studies is very important, analysis and ideas. support and develop an ecosystem based approach. We have to consider ecosystem based approach to conservation and sustainable development as a basic orientation for the development of applied ethnobotany, and promote standardization in levels of rigor expected courses and programs. Courses and programs are very important. I am really very happy to say that first time in our country we started a special paper in ethnobotany at MSc level in our department, botany department. Ethnobotany and isolation of medicinal, isolation of natural products. That was the course, and still it is running as a MSc special program. So, we require to launch, to start such type of programs in our courses and raise awareness of value of applied ethnobotany within university and educational ministries and among potential students, promote greater rigor in research and ethnobotany, strengthen an existing trend towards greater quantification. This is very, very important, and Dr. Saklani has mentioned about it, and increase hardcore scientific elements such as phytochemistry. All these are urgently required, then only the ethnobotany would be improved. It would reach to masses. It would have its real importance. So, time is over, and I am grateful to you for listening me very patiently. And in my lecture, I mainly mentioned about the old civilizations and the contribution of those people, and then the changes which took place during course of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for such a wonderful talk. Now I request the dignitaries to please come on the dais once again. Now I request Dr. Manjusha to please tell us about Dr. D.C. Pal Memorial Award.
Thank you, Shweta. It was a very exciting lectures from Saklani sir and Jain sir. So next we just want to introduce, in this society we have a very prestigious award, that is D.C. Pal Medal Award. So let me introduce about the D.C. Pal Medal Award. This time already Dr. Gwalior has introduced about other awards, but this time we are felicitating this award that is at this very prestigious and gesture and platform. So Dr. D.C. Pal Medal Award is in the name of Dr. D.C. Pal, who was from BSI, and he was a great ethnobotanist and he worked on the ethnobotany of Totopatra and on the Toto tribe of West Bengal and Odisha. So Dr. D.C. Pal Medal was established in the year 2011 for a young and active ethnobotanist below the age of 40 years with minimum 12-year experience after MSc and 7 years postdoc research experience with good publications in ethnobotany. So this time we are felicitating this award to Dr. K.J. Singh, Senior Scientist, Head B Botanical Garden, CSIR-NBRI Lucknow, for his significant contributions, particularly in the area of ethnobotany and taxonomy. So I invite Dr. K.J. Singh to give a medal award lecture.
Good afternoon, everyone. Respected sir, director sir, respected dignitaries, respected vice president, secretary of the society, and all the scientists and students gathered here. I'd like to thank the society for conferring this award to me. On this occasion, I would like to give a lecture on the work that I have done. Especially my work is on cycads. I work on the field called cycad biology. I work in the taxonomy, then the population studies, ecological studies, and the other aspects which have been related to the ethnobotany. So during the course of my work, like the conservation, going for the plant collection, and for the population studies, I encounter many uses of cycads. And the other group of plants that I'm now started working, like neem, then the conifers. So I'm one of the remnants of the the people like people Sahani, who used to work on the group of plant called people popularly known as gymnosperms. Hardly people work nowadays. So Professor Birbal Sahani was one of the pioneer of gymnosperm work in India. And then the Professor Didi Pant, who happened to be the guru of my teacher, Professor Rita Singh. Then Professor P. Maheshwari, the famous botanist of Delhi University. Then Dr. P. D. Dogra, who used to work here, but people have forgotten him. Then Dr. B.G.L. Swami, who is a very famous botanist in South. Then my teacher. So these are the people who have worked on the field of gymnosperms, and these are some of the books. The famous monograph book on the gymnosperm cycads and psychedelics, published by Birbal Sahani Institute of Botany, Professor Didi Pant. And this is another book, K.C. Sahani. This is another book from, I think, FRI. So these are some of the books. So I just like to remind you about the field that has been forgotten. We call it gymnosperm. So this is one group that NBRI should be proud that we now have lots of collections here in NBRI Botanical Garden. So this is the one group which is regarded as the most threatened organism. I'm not talking about the animal, I'm not talking about the microbes. Because according to IUCN, 71% of cycads are now at the risk of extinction. So this is one paper published in Nature. It was here in 2011. So at that time, 64% of the cycads are almost extinct, are endangered. So out of the recent, we have a collection around 394 worldwide species diversity of cycads in the world, and out of which we have 14 species. And it will be very interesting to know that as far as already talked about the Van Reed, the famous book called Hortus malabaricus, the species was already described by the people from our own people from Kerala. It was known as Tora Panna. But later on, it was named as Cycas rationalis by the father of taxonomy, Carolus Linnaeus, in the year 1753. So the first species to be described was Cycas rationalis, and the family Cycadaceae, and the word Cycadelis, the order. It was named after the plant discovered from Kerala. So we have to, as a duty, as an Indian, so we have a duty to work on the group of cycads. So you can see here the diversity of cycads in the world. It is mostly found in the tropical region, and presently I'm working on the migration diversification of cycads, especially cycas of the Asia and the Southeast Asia, South Asia and Southeast Asia. So these are the plants, the cycas species of India, which was discovered. First was discovered. Described. We cannot give it discovered. It described Cycas rationalis in 1753, and the last one was in 2020. We been described the name and given the name to Professor Didi Pant, Divya Darshanai, Cycas Divya Darshanai. So it was described from NBRI. So I would like to give a glimpse of some of the diversity of the plants. My topic, my lecture will be very short, If given a chance, I will try to give a lengthy lecture later on. So this is Cycas sessionalis. These are different uses. It is also mentioned in Ayurveda. So this is the only species of Cycas mentioned in Ayurveda. So these are the uses. Seed flora use, we call it sago palm or queen palm, very popular worldwide. So all the species which are found in South Asia used to be known as Cycas sessionalis. Later on, different species were described because people could not differentiate between different species. So this peat is very popular. Tender leaves, they have a very tender leaf in the young age, in the young stages. In northeastern states, people use the different young leaves, bark. So many uses are there. So this is another species called Cycas anacalaensis, described by our team in Delhi. This is the Cycas anacalaensis, which is very unique. And then Cycas bedomai, this is the most popular species, which is listed in the IUCN, in the Wildlife Protection Act, Schedule number 6, Section number 2. This is prohibited from cultivation at the private place. So it is, you can see in our garden, we have conserve here in our garden. Then Cycas sessalamensis, this is also found in the Sessalem Hills. Then we have Cycas indica. Then Cycas niagrensis, this is a species that we described. This is come under the critically endangered. It is already listed. I think we are very proud to say that this species, two species that have been described from NBRI now is in the IUCN Red List, but it is not the, we should try to conserve the species. This species is found in one district called Niagar in the Orissa. It is called Cycas niagrensis. Then Cycas oryxensis, after which we name one genus also, one section also, Cycas oryxens. This is a very unique species because it have a forked microsporophyll, which is not found in other part of the world. There is one river, along the river, there is Satkosia Wildlife Sanctuary. This Mahanadi River along the side, along with the crocodile, these plants are conserved there. This is, you can see the beauty of this, the cone, the Cycas oryxensis, quite unique. Just like the female cone, they are look like a receptive. They spread out during in the month of May and June. This is a place called Athamalik. This is Anugul district in Orissa. So these are the uses of the Cycas seed as well as the Cycas cone. You can see this is a place in Ganjam district in Orissa where the male cone are hung in the cow set, where the smell of the cone, repel the mosquitoes, repel the beetles. So many things are there. So many chemistry can be, biochemical studies can be worked out. Then along the, there is one district called Baut. So along the road, people sell these seeds, and in the district Ganjam, they make it petha. So they make dosa also. Many things are made out of there. So it is a very, people use there for different purposes. Seeds are eaten, male cone are used as insect repellent, leaves are for decorative shrines. So in the month of September, October, many festivals are there. So they use, just like we use banana, they use the cycad plant for decoration. Then Cycas perica, this is one of the most controversial species, that is Cycas perica. This is a species described after a specimen brought from Moluccas, but now here in India we call it perica, so this is another doubtful species, so we are working on this. So this is Cycas natostii. This is a species found in South India. It is in Tamil Nadu and Sri Lanka. Now it has been also reported from Kerala. Cycas zelanica, this is another species we name after the Sri Lanka. This is found in Sri Lanka and Andaman and Nicobar Island. So whichever species that is found, especially in the Andaman, are mostly the relatives of Cycas zelanica. So there are lots of work to be done in Andaman because the species are very confusing there. So scientists keep on describing new species from that area. So we need to work on that. Then Cycas pectinata, which was main work of my work in Northeast India and the like country like Bhutan. So we have done lots of field work in Bhutan as well as in Northeast India. So this is one particular plant which grows along the bank of river Brahmaputra. You can see the condition of the plant. The world's most tallest Cycas pectinata plant was found in IIT Guwahati, but during the course of the expansion of the campus, they cut down the tree. So this is the diversity of what to say the Cycas population in Bhutan and Bangladesh, in our neighboring countries, and this is the uses of Cycas pectinata in Northeast India. The seeds are eaten raw or maybe roasted. Young leaves are used for making what to say chutney in Sikkim and Darjeeling, India. So microsporophyll also used as traditional medicine for curing stomach ulcer. So people in the Guwahati area, North Guwahati area, people use it. And Cycas diviadarshani, which is found in Manipur and the Thailand, Burma area. So we have also done work in Burma and Laos and Myanmar for studying the diversity of Cycas pectinata complex. So it is very interesting group. More species will come out. We happen to got 2 new species of Cycas pectinata group in Burma, but because of the going on conflict, we could not describe the plant. So this is the Cycas diviadarshani. And this happened to be, the photo happened to be of my brother, who is now a wing commander. He used to accompany me. So he is also a botanist, though he is in a different field. So he is a very supporter of the work that I have been doing. So this is another interesting part. It is uses of Cycas pectinata leaves. The young leaves are eaten. You can see different, different Cycas pectinata leaves are used in different forms, whether it may be as a we call it iromba or maybe chutney type. So many things are being eaten, and this signifies the start of the year. So in the month of March and April. So during that time, this particular leaf is eaten. So that signifies that we can also know the phenology of the plant and correlate with our culture. And this is a threat that the Cycas group are facing, that is urbanization. You can see the urbanization of the Kamakhya and the Guwahati area. So trees are cut down in the Kamakhya hills. You will see lots of urbanization going on. So Cycas pectinata leaves are plants are being cut down. And you can see the shifting cultivation and clearing of forests for firewood, that is in the southern hills and the some area in which is now we have a conflict there. So this is the place where the poppy plantation are going on. So all the Cycas plants are cut down. Then this is another illegal mining that is in one place in Orissa. You can see on the other side, you can see a lush green forest, but on the other side, you can see the big hole being created. There is illegal mining going on. Even for taking this photograph, I was threatened. So this is one aspect that the Cycas oryxensis or Cycas niagarensis are facing problem in Orissa. So this is another problem that the plants, especially in Assam. This is a place called Nagaon district in Assam, where the plants are being threatened. So how we can correlate between the ethnobotanical studies, how the plants are being used for the what do you say, for maybe for your culture, maybe for your food, but how much these threatened plants are being threatened in the wild, like the Cycas oryxensis are being cut down, especially in the month of September and October. And even you can see there are lots of marks here being, the poachers from Bangladesh are cutting down the plants in Karbi Anglong district in Assam. And here you can see the lone Cycas pectinata plant growing in the rubber cultivation in Assam. Then there is a problem of soil erosion. This is in Valmiki Tiger Reserve. That is the last population of Cycas in this part of the country. That is in northern India, the Valmiki Tiger Reserve in Champaran district, bordering Nepal. So this was my last trip in 2015. And here for ex situ conservation, NBRI is the pioneer, and we are very happy to have, we have 71 species, out of which 11 species are there. We have the largest collection of cycads in the South Asia. We rank 9 in the world.
So for in situ conservation, whenever we go for the for the exploration, we used to organize a training program. We used to organize awareness program along with the people, along with the team. We always used to take the people from the tribal communities for the exploration. Even we organize the CICUS volleyball tournament also to encourage the people to involve in the conservation, and we also help them in the collection of seeds and the plantation in the wild. So this is another very interesting thing that I have encountered. That is the community involvement in the sacred conservation. That is the plants are being planted in the temples. So people are involved, like is Arya Samaj temple in Gwalior in Assam. So people are helping, and through this we came to know that in the nearby area there are lots of male plants. So because this plant group are dioecious, so when we see any fertile plant, when we see that growing there, when plants are growing there, that shows that there may be viable population. So this is the economic importance in a summary. They are used for food, medicine, timber, ornamental, and industry. So timber is especially for the coniferous plants. Other like cycas is very popular. It's a multi-million business. Cycas, you know, we are talking about the only about the ethnobotany, or maybe talking about the just for the for the other purpose. But it is a very popular ornamental plant. So what we need to do? So being a research institute, it is our duty to do reassessment of cycas. You know the importance, 71% the most threatened organism on earth. So we need to do reassessment, and cycas was described from India. For the first species was described from India. So it is our sole duty to work on this, the reassessment of conservation status of all the species. And we need to do work on in situ as well as ex situ conservation. Cycad garden need to be established in many places. And this is the conservation roadmap, establishment of conservation centers. Even like while I was doing my PhD work, people have followed my work, and they have established conservation, cycad conservation area site. They have identified, and now the government of Sikkim has already taken up the work, and they are preserving that area. So so small contribution can be a very good contribution for the conservation of cycads, not only for cycads, for the other threatened plants. So these are some of the activities that we should work out. And with this, I'd like to conclude. Thank you so much.
I now request all the dignitaries to please come on the stage to felicitate Sir with the award. I also request Dr. A.K. Goel Sir to please come on the stage. Dr. KJ Sir, please.
Now I will request Dr. Sasne to decorate with the DC Pal medal to Dr. KJ Singh.
I now request Dr. Ajit Shashne Sir to please felicitate Dr. Saklani with the token of our appreciation. I now request Director Sir to please felicitate Professor Ashok Jain Sir with the token of our appreciation. I now request Dr. Goel Sir to please felicitate our Director Sir with a shawl. Aapko, sir. Thank you everyone for joining us. I now request you all to please stand up for the national anthem.
Thank you, Shweta. So on behalf of SCB and our institute, CSIR-NBRI, it is an honor and privilege to deliver the vote of thanks in this occasion. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our director, CSIR-NBRI, who took the initiative to organize this memorial lecture event. I express my sincere thanks to honorable chief guests for taking their precious time and out of the busy schedule to grace this event and deliver thought and enlightening lecture of ethnobotany, specifically focusing on documentation, cultural ethnobotany, and again nutritional as well as other pharmaceutical aspects, even starting from ethnobotany to the industry. A special thanks to the Vice President of the Society and all the EC-EB members of the Society, with a special emphasis to the members in the CSIR-NBRI who are already present here, who contributed significantly to make this event successful. I would also like to extend my gratitude to our organizing team, especially the volunteers, technical team, administrative staffs, press, media, the one who are on YouTube also, who are seeing this program thoroughly, whose hard work and dedication behind the scenes made this event possible in a satisfactory way. A big thanks to the Rangoli students as well as all the students that are on dais as well as out of this dais outside also, and who made this Rangoli with ethnic natural colors this time and made a prior effort. Once again, I thank you all. For all apologies for anyone left behind, and press and media also I thankful. At the last but not the least, I just want to convey this thanks by our Sada Sarvata Bhavatu Mam Kritagyata. तो हम धन्यवाद देते हैं उन भगवान को भी at the last, है ना, जो कि हमारे Almighty God जो यहाँ हमारे साथ उपस्थित हैं और उनके सौजन्य से हम सब यहाँ blessed हैं. धन्यवाद. नमस्कार.